And we're live. Welcome, everybody, to the I Loathe Basketball podcast. Actually, aptly named, given that what the Lakers are going to be putting on the court tonight with Anthony Davis, LeBron James. I mean, like on the night that you don't have Patrick Beverly available, this is when LeBron and AD are out. That's just wrong. Anyway.
I like that Pat Bev is like, oh, so all three of the big three are sitting.
Yeah, right. Do you think they'll let him sit by him?
I don't think anyone should be sitting near AD right now.
Yeah, well, the Lakers disagree, clearly. So, yeah. All right. So today, the Lakers are going to be playing here in a few hours. We are live right now talking about some goings on. Kyle Kuzma is in some rumors that are surrounding the Lakers. I'm going to give people a peek behind the curtain for that one, I guess, because why not? And then I want to also give Russell Westbrook some credit here because without the way that he has been playing off of the bench, the Lakers would not have options in front of them. And that matters, obviously, not just for their ability to build a team, but just as importantly, maybe more importantly, for the conversations that they're having with teams on how they have to build this roster. They can actually, seriously, and genuinely say, yeah, we have some other options here. We don't necessarily feel like we have to move Russ right now. So we're going to give Russ some kudos on that. As look, given how well it went last week when Harrison gave me some Lakers news live on the air, we figured we would go back to that. And I guess, do you want to do the NF tweet also? We have that. And
We gotta discuss your tweets.
I have an NF tweet that Harrison wants to talk about, and we're gonna wrap up the show by talking about Santa because Patrick Beverly did a very Patrick Beverly thing. So a loaded show that we have in front of you guys today. We'll start though with this Kyle Kuzma stuff, and like I promised, I'm gonna give you guys a peek behind the curtain. I messaged Harrison on Slack. Was it over the weekend? I think it was over the weekend.
Monday.
Yeah, either Sunday or Monday. Hey, just a heads up. I'm hearing that the Lakers are keeping an eye on Kuz. And I'm not a reporter, so I didn't want to go out with that first. And all week we have been getting some version. Kuzma mentions the Lakers in a one-on-one with Shams. We get Dave McMenamin and Zach Lowe just hypothetically throwing Kyle Kuzma's name out there. And Jake Fisher did the same on his podcast. Friend of the show, Jake Fisher did that on his show as well. So that's where we find ourselves here with, I think we can say there's some smoke around this one, right? Like we can say that there's some smoke swirling around Kuzma. It's not particularly hot. It's not a ton of smoke, but there's enough smoke to do some smoke signals, I would say.
Yeah, I think so. It's not like a forest fire, but you see it off in the distance. Like it's clear that someone has a campfire going.
All right, so there's a few directions that we can go in when talking about Kyle Kuzma. We could talk about the asset management that goes into bringing back Kyle Kuzma and how that's pretty indicative of the Rob Pelinka tenure. We could talk about all of that being damned because the Lakers could seriously use a player like Kyle Kuzma. And then we can also just talk about, I'm curious how you think Kyle Kuzma, who seems to really be enjoying the freedom that he has in Washington, would handle coming back. And he just finished saying to Shams, hey, I was there in LA and LeBron and AD play at my position. And it's nice to come here and not have those guys in front of me.
They play similarly to him, which was one of the most wildly overconfident that one day I want to have as much confidence as Kyle Kuzma. One day.
I love Kuz. If he comes back, if the Lakers bring him back, I have to get that pink sweater. I have to just go out.
The Lakers should make it a jersey. I'm telling you, the Wizards missed their
t-shirt
opportunity.
Night. T-shirt night.
Pink Kuz sweater night.
So yeah, which of the directions do you want to go in here? You have three options in front of you.
I mean, I think that we have to talk about the asset management part of it, just because It is so funny that they're being linked to him again now, just a little over a year after trading him. Like, again, yes to everything that you said about he would be, a pretty good fit. He would probably help this team. All of that stuff for sure. But they did just attach a first-round pick to him and multiple other players to acquire Russ. And as we all know, when Rob Pelinka is making trades, he has several rules, and two of them are must be a former Laker. So, checks that box. And you also have to wildly overcorrect for a previous mistake that you made. And I think that, acquiring a former Laker by wildly overcorrecting for trading them away, like this fits into the neatly into the box of things that Pelinka would believably do.
Yeah, I gave you a theory. Did I say it on the show? Did I say it on the show that my theory on Rob Pelinka, or is that a Slack joke?
I don't remember.
That I'm not positive that Rob Pelinka watches non-Lakers games.
I'm pretty sure you've said that on the air, yeah.
All right, good. So, well, if not, I'm saying it on the air now. We're getting a lot of data on this front that would indicate that Rob has some interesting viewing choices in his job. Like I joked to you, I believe, when the Lakers played Indiana, that they wanted to wait. Like part of the reason they wanted to wait 20 games before they trade for Buddy Hield or Miles Turner was that it would finally be like after Rob Pelinka sees them for the first time. Like that would be.
Rob is probably familiar with Hield. He represented him, but
probably fair.
Yeah.
Although he hasn't seen him. Like, do you think when he sees Buddy, because they had to be pretty close, right? Like the agent player relationship is
he's like, well, I can't be seen as tampering, so I'm just not going to watch any Buddy Hield games at all.
Well, no. Like, do you think when they see each other at the game, Rob Pelinka's like, Buddy, haven't seen you in forever. Like, have you been playing?
What's your VORP?
If you're open tonight, please miss. So the asset management thing here,
like it's too funny to not acknowledge that this would be them. And again, that's not even necessarily a reason they shouldn't do it, but it is. Remember when they shipped Kuz out, it was this big thing. It's like, oh, it's the end of the Kyle Kuzma era in LA. He had like a long storied tenure, like survived the AD trade, the boy who lived, won a championship, morphed himself into this different type of player, and then all of a sudden it's like, oh well, like a year and a half later, it's like, well, we could, reacquire him on the contract we gave him 2 years ago and, and extend him again against all odds. It is.
How long how long until the Lakers reacquire Russell Westbrook? Like how long?
This summer.
What's the grace period?
They're
I think they have to wait a year, but.
Yeah, they're gonna let him go ball out for some team on the mid-level, and then pay him like $15 million a year to come back.
They're gonna give him their taxpayer mid-level next year. Although they won't be a taxpayer next year, so it'll be like the full minimum or the full mid-level. The asset management thing here is interesting because everything that you've said obviously is objectively true. It's not great that they attached not just a pick to Kuzma to get somebody else, but it was Kuzma and Kentavious Caldwell-Pope, both of whom have gone out and proven exactly why you don't just trade away 3-and-D wings. Like that's why you don't do that kind of a thing in the NBA in 2022, the year of our Lord. And like I look at the way that like the Lakers are run, and it's all too often a move towards the story, right? A trade can't just be a trade. There has to be a story attached to it, right? A hiring can't be a hiring. It has to be, no, we're bringing back the prodigal son, Magic Johnson. A hiring
Kyle Kuzma, we had to trade him away to develop somewhere out of the bright lights in LA, and now he's ready for his return.
Right, which, again, I have questions about.
It was a win-win for both sides, Anthony. Like, he got some freedom to go and develop other aspects of his game.
Washington certainly feels like it was a win. Washington abso-positively thinks that was a W.
Although, weirdly, they don't seem to be that interested in extending him. is like sort of all the smoke and context around this,
Yeah.
or like
Well,
keeping him.
that's
So
actually that
like that.
we should talk about that. Why is Kyle Kuzma available in the first place, or hypothetically available in a way that would allow for smoke to be swirling around him, right? And the only real reason seems to be that they probably aren't going to pay him, right? That's
Yeah,
it.
and they're just bad. Like,
Right, but like they have Bradley Beal, so you know that like while you have Bradley Beal on the contract that he's going to be on, you know you're going to probably be competing. Why would you not want a really
Competing for
good
what?
3D wing? Well, fair. I mean, but like
the plan? I mean, I know,
Yes.
again, Glass House shouldn't throw stones, but they
you're
are,
not-
yeah.
you're not rebuilding, right? With Bradley Beal on that contract on your books. And so if you're not rebuilding and you have Bradley Beal on that number and you're like at least theoretically trying to win, why are you just letting this guy leave? I mean, or why is it already taken for granted that you aren't going to pay this guy? Like that's just, I don't know. I'm not a Wizards fan. Maybe we need to talk to bring Mike Prada back, or we need to bring Michael Sykes back to ask them what the hell's going on here. But look, at the end of the day, the Lakers could potentially take advantage of a situation here where a team decides for whatever reason that this is not somebody that they are not going to pay beyond this season. And like I feel like whatever contract Kuz gets next also is going to be like a very fair one. He hasn't played so incredibly well that he's going to get overpaid. And the Lakers could definitely use somebody on their books beyond this season. So the idea that like the Lakers would be trading for a potential rental, I would think that the Lakers would extend him as soon as he got here, as soon as he got back. But yeah, I don't personally understand it, but it is and it is because I don't understand it or because it doesn't make much sense. That's kind of the grain of salt to take with this entire situation. Is it might be so. All right,
Do you feel like he helps though? Like, I mean, that's a bad way to phrase that question. I do feel like he helps. Like, he's a type of player that the Lakers don't have. But, we don't have to go back that far, in this show's feed to find you begging the Lakers to trade Kuz for someone else because he didn't really kind of fit, alongside LeBron and AD the best. It was always kind of wonky. Like, again, it deserves credit. He sort of made it work on a lot of levels and, definitely became a better player and became a more useful one in a winning situation, got better on defense, all of those things, and would sort of give this team just a size, frankly, on the wing that they just don't have. But, again, beggars can't be choosers, and the Lakers aren't offering a whole lot. But is that, like, are there moves that you would rather see them make? Like, is this sort of your what you think is going to be the best available for what they have to offer? Like, I don't, it's just weird to me, the whole, they traded him away because they didn't think that he fit all that way. It doesn't show a lot of conviction in your own basketball evaluation and vision that you'd be trying to reacquire this guy that you traded in part because you thought he was kind of an iffy fit behind your two stars while giving up like another asset to get him back after giving up one in the trade.
Yeah, I mean, look, clearly the Lakers have no idea the value of a 3-and-D wing, right? Like,
fair.
I think it has a lot more to do with the fact that he used to play for the Lakers than the people at the top of this food chain.
He does have certified Mamba mentality as well.
Also that.
It's an important factor to consider here.
So I don't know. I think he helps? Yes. Is he the best that the Lakers could get for what would essentially just be like, I don't think.
Yeah, I guess if it's just like probably none and, and Pat Bev and
you could get away with just Pat Bev and a pick.
Okay, that's right. Yeah, I forgot how much he was making.
He's really underpaid. And that's why also like I think his extension is actually going to be very feasible too. So to me, I think it makes a lot of sense in a vacuum, right? And that's what we always keep coming back to is in a vacuum, these moves make sense. But when you look at them all together, the vacuum explodes, right? Like your Dyson vacuum is no longer working.
It would be sort of it just as a series of moves, getting rid of Kuz, keeping THT, overpaying THT, trading him for Pat Bev, and then using that salary slot to reacquire Kuz. Again, it's just
right. when
stuff is
when all
incredible.
along, all that they could have done is just pay to keep Alex Caruso, keep KCP, keep Kuzma, and keep a championship core intact, and not overreact to losing to the Phoenix Suns in the playoffs when neither of your two stars were healthy.
Yeah, when AD was hurt and LeBron
that was an option.
limited. Yeah.
that was something the Lakers could have done. The other the thing that I also need to kind of point out,
this team is title or bust, and they chose bust.
So I do want to come back to the notion of like Kuzma just just what we've seen in Washington from Kuzma, which has been very good, just transferring back over to the Lakers. He's not a natural three. Like
No.
he doesn't defend threes very well. And he certainly won't defend twos very well, right? He's not like your 3-and-D wing. He's like a 3 and some D wing, right? He's like
he's like a 3.5 in D wing, I guess.
Yeah.
Or no, sorry. Yeah, I'm thinking 3 is in the positional designation. That's 3 is in arc, but yeah.
Yeah. Like I think for what the Lakers would be getting back, do I think he's the best option? I don't think there are going to be very many 3-and-D options out there, right? Harrison Barnes is playing really well for Sacramento. They aren't going to be breaking that roster down anytime soon. Bojan Bogdanovic is probably available, could be had,
so,
but a lot of the same issues. Bojan is a better shooter, but he's not as mobile, and didn't play for the Lakers, and then And
realistically, if they had wanted Bojan so bad, they could have looped him into that Pat Bev trade most likely and like sort of expanded that. And so clearly there was not a lot, like they didn't have a lot of value on Bojan.
And the other 3-and-D wing, I don't even know. He's not good at threes and he's not good at defense. So he's just a wing. But Cam Reddish is now almost officially available from New York, right? As the Knicks and his management and his team are working on a trade. Guess who they are working with, Harrison? It was, I think, I didn't read the piece, but apparently Stefan Bondi, who wrote about it for is it New York Post or is it New York Daily News? I forget. But he wrote that apparently, that Cam Reddish is working towards a trade with the Knicks, and the only team that he listed there was the Lakers. That's the kind of stuff that it's worth perking up an ear to, right? That's
well, and the fact that the Lakers have tried to acquire Cam Reddish like multiple times at this point,
2 or 3 times, right?
Yeah,
I think, yeah. So how I kind of see this playing out is none and a second for Reddish and Pat and a first for Kuz, and then that leaves you with Russ and a first if you need more beyond that. And if that was how this plays out, how would you feel about that roster?
I think it's better. Yeah, it is better. I don't know why I'm saying I think. It's like moving on from Pat Bev, and I do think that Pat Bev has probably gotten more criticism than he's deserved just because, I think that some of the things that he's being asked to do, he's not really all that well suited for, which is like
catching and shooting
problem. No. Like the shooting thing is, that's an abomination. But like some of the team is still, I believe, still better with him on defense than they are when he's off the floor. Like he's still, somewhat doing the defensive stuff they were hoping for. And like, look, they're starting 3 guards. Like that's not really a situation where Pat Bev is kind of defending your biggest wing. Like that's not really.
Do you think they're trading for Kuz to bring him off the bench?
6th man of the year. I think that team would be better. I don't know if it's better enough that I buy that the Lakers would give up a pick in that trade just because they seem to be focused on like, no, we keep all our picks to make one big move. We don't make small moves. That's not what we do. We want, we 2 first rounders, that's a good amount right now. But think about this summer, we have 3 first rounders and cap space. I guess, one of the arguments that I've kind of seen going around that is somewhat compelling to me is the idea that if the Lakers do trade that one of these firsts, then teams can, maybe it does sort of open up trade talks in a weird way, with other teams, because they stop being so unreasonable about like, you need to give us both firsts to even consider taking on Russ, because the Lakers are like, well, we only have one. So, you can't ask for something that we don't have right now. And so, maybe that's an argument. And again, like Kuz is probably worth the first round pick if you're planning on extending him. Now, Kuz being Kuz, I would be shocked if he did extend, because I feel like he's the type of guy that's going to want to test unrestricted free agency for the first time this summer, if nothing else than like to do, I don't know, like a vlog or something on like different recruiting meetings, or, like have some of that media scrutiny and, get wined and dined and get some free meals and all of that stuff. Like, I would be kind of surprised if he didn't at least test unrestricted free agency, but you're probably trading him with the idea that you're going to use his bird rights to re-sign him. So that's probably
hold on.
The first round pick.
That implies that the Lakers know what bird rights are.
Well, they know what bird rights are. They just haven't always shown a willingness to use them. I'm pretty convinced they know what they are. Although I guess they did try to convince Alex Caruso to stay for less to play for exposure. So maybe not.
Do you think Rob Pelinka and the Lakers think bird rights are players' free speech rights on Twitter? Like, do you think
they're like, no, that's some Celtics BS. We don't do that. It's purple and gold. Like we only use Magic rights.
Oh my God! So the key to the Lakers the last few years is that if they were just Magic rights, we would still have Caruso.
I'm not willing to rule it out.
Magic rights is so much more fun too. All right,
I know.
We need to petition.
They can't do that, because if they called it that, it would just sound like it was this like magical salary cap exception that you, which I guess actually that sort of is what bird rights are. It's honestly a better name. This is BS that Bird got the contract that got them named. I don't care. I want Magic rights.
Magic has the famous contract too. That's the part of this that I really don't get. Whatever.
Well, but the Bird one was like they were in a situation where, because of the way the cap was at the time, they would have been sort of penalized and probably not able to offer him as much. So the NBA just was like, bird rights are a thing now. I think they called them something else, but they became known as bird rights.
Yeah. All right. I was gonna take it. Oh yeah, I was gonna use this as an opportunity to segue over to Russ, because like you just said, right? You just said a second ago that the reason the Lakers, or one reason to potentially make this Kuz trade with one of the first round picks, is so that like you just end the stalemate with some of these other teams who will not have conversations with the Lakers apparently if they aren't talking about both of those first rounders. And heading into the season, I would have said using a first round pick in any circumstance that isn't getting the most that you can possibly get in a Russell Westbrook trade would be kind of a waste of that asset, right? Because your priority needs to be elsewhere. But because of the way that Russell Westbrook has played this year, the Lakers really do have options here. And like, I know Russ stands out there, all of you want every bit. Like, you're kind of like the Patrick Beverly in this situation where like he hates Santa because he wants credit for buying his kids those gifts. Like, you want Russ to get every bit of credit for every single thing he does. So here I am, Anthony Irwin at Anthony Irwin LA on Twitter. There's Harrison Fagan at HM Fagan on Twitter. Here we are to say Russell Westbrook deserves a whole bunch of credit for playing well enough that the Lakers do, at least in theory right now, have options. And like, I know it sounds, I'm making this sound
I love that your idea of credit is Russell Westbrook deserves credit for playing so well that the Lakers can unceremoniously dump him while giving up less.
I'm realizing that I'm
thank
not,
you, Russ. Hashtag.
I'm not doing a great job in explaining this without sounding sarcastic. The Lakers are going to have to
throw so much less in the catapult, sending him out of Los Angeles now. You know.
The catapult, like, it's not going to get tennis elbow. Like, it's the wear and tear on the catapult's going to be way better. But no, Russ didn't
they only have to throw one middle schooler in the catapult with him. It's, it's great.
That's no way to talk about Austin Reeves. So Russ, though, now look, he didn't have to accept the role that the way that he has, right? Like yes, I think him doing this has probably extended his career because it shows to other teams what he's willing to do to win. It's not just lip service when he says, whatever it takes to win. Yeah, I'm just trying to come out here and help my team win. He actually can back that up.
That sort of meant like I'm willing to score points, rebound, get assists,
preferably with at least 10 of all of those things. Yeah,
yeah.
And now look, I think the bar
now
has
it actually has extended to trying on defense, making hustle plays.
Yeah, at least occasionally.
Off the ball. Yeah,
yeah. I think the Lakers don't beat Milwaukee if he doesn't make that play, diving on the sideline that gets LeBron the opportunity to pass the ball to AD.
He's not as efficient of a playmaker and scorer
yeah,
as he was
15
that
assists
night.
in that game.
He was moving the ball well and smartly, just no
next
turnovers. There was, he was great.
Yeah, and again, like I could be cynical and I could say that he had to do this in order to extend his career, but Russ has also made all of the money that really matters, right? Like
there's also still no guarantee that he was going to do it, even if that was the incentive. Like
right, that's what I mean.
Guys who just hang it up. Like he deserves credit for deciding to make the choice.
Exactly. Like he did. Again, he didn't have to. Like he could have just. He's going to be a Hall of Famer regardless. He seems perfectly fine with walking away from the NBA without winning a championship. Like that is something he has said multiple times that's fine for him. He's had he has had a spectacular career regardless without it. And if this had, if he had been stubborn about this and would have been so impossible to work with after they moved him to the bench that they just had to send him home, like that would probably be it for Russell Westbrook. And that would have been fine for him. And so that's what I'm saying. Like, he didn't have to do all of this. And not only has he done, I think, enough to extend his career, but he's gone above and beyond in a way that, like, Lonnie Walker on my show was saying, hey, everybody else, if you're like not interested in sacrificing for the betterment of the team, one of the best point guards in the history of the sport is coming off of the bench while he's still on a max contract. This is somebody who only a few years ago was averaging a triple-double. And him doing that in this way, I think not only has it, extended his career, and not only has it made it easier for the catapult to work, but it's also, like, most importantly here, it really has, I think, turned the Lakers season around. I legitimately think so, that it was going to take...
so too. It's been a big part of it. Him and AD sort of rediscovering, his aggressiveness and touch and all of that stuff. And his back just getting better, clearly.
That too. So, like, I it's really cool. Like, I remember writing for Silver Screen when he moved to the bench and it looked like it was working pretty well. I said, you know what? Good. You had a nice final chapter to wrap this thing up. I think I analogized it to a breakup, right? Where right before the breakup, you guys are getting along great. Just end it right there. If you're in a toxic relationship and you just have that one nice little thing, that last date that you had that was nice, just end it right there. You're good. There's your closure. Everybody can move on. And no, I think in this case here, while I would still prefer personally to move him, because I don't think $47 million coming off of the bench and not necessarily closing all of your games is the best use of your cap space. But
probably
the Lakers,
not. But until there's a deal, that's like the best situation the Lakers
for sure
have. Yeah.
That and also, like, previously when the Lakers were going to talk to teams about moving Russell Westbrook, it was known, like, the oxygen in the room was, we have to move this guy. It was untenable. And it was last year. It was untenable. Heading into this season, I would argue it was still untenable. Now that Russ is coming off of the bench and playing the way that he is, it is tenable. They can afford to ride this out for a little bit. And this does, all of the first 20 or so minutes of this conversation where we're talking about Kyle Kuzma and the Lakers' ability to potentially move Russell Westbrook, or Patrick Beverley for Kuz and Nunn for Reddish and then see what else you can get for Russ in a first. Like, those are options that the Lakers didn't have a month ago, you know?
No.
And also, I guess this is also where I think the waiting this out has paid dividends, right? Now I think we've reached
Are you
the
willing
point.
to apologize to Rob?
Well, we're still talking about trading the guy or trading for the guy who you packaged with another really important player and a first round pick for the guy that we're talking about you eventually trading. So like, here's a slap on the back, I guess, for like things working out okay. But I think here specifically though, Russ playing the way that he is has, I think, given, breathed some life into this Lakers season that I don't think you or I saw coming.
Certainly not in this way. No, I did not. After last year, I had very, very low hopes and expectations. And it's funny, I was famously, and I've taken this L. I was an advocate. I was a fan of the Russ trade. I thought that the team needed a little bit more ball handling and dynamism, and that they could sort of figure out how to make it work. And if there had ever been a situation where Russ was going to sort of transition into a sort of lower usage, role alongside other stars, that this would be the one in his hometown, and like after sort of bouncing around the league a little bit, maybe this would be the time. And it's funny, I'd sort of given up on that after last year, and I was still wrong in the fact that the big three still don't fit all that well together, and the Lakers have mostly just gone away from using them for any extended period of time altogether. But this is sort of what, like the optimistic view was of what this would look like, where, he's doing enough in that he's setting up AD a whole lot, just spamming pick and roll with him. He's hustling on defense, using some of that extra energy he doesn't have to expend with a bigger offensive burden to try and make hustle plays, really push pace every single time coming down the floor. All of it, he's hitting, corner threes and other threes at a decent rate at the very least. And, the fit with LeBron still clearly doesn't work very well, but this is sort of what I was hoping for. And, again, it clearly does not have the ceiling that I think I or the Lakers were hoping for when the move was made. But this is sort of, this was sort of what the vision was supposed to look like, was Russ, as someone to take on some of those ball handling duties, allow LeBron to miss games or rest a little bit at times, and really set up AD, start to buy in a little bit more on defense and all these types of things. This was sort of the vision. And again, I'm not patting myself on the back or Rob Pelinka too hard, because it has not worked to the degree that they obviously hoped it would when they made the deal. But it's been better, and Russ deserves credit for that.
Yeah, that's why I'm reluctant
and
to
Darvin,
give,
frankly, because just selling this in the way that he did and getting Russ to buy in, that was something that clearly was not on the table and within Frank Vogel's skill set. However, whatever other foibles or other mistakes that you want to criticize Vogel for, you and I were both critical of many throughout the last year. Like, honestly, the biggest one was the ability to just get Russ to buy into any sort of change in role or whatever. And Darvin has really brought a lot more gravitas and ability to have those sort of tough conversations and gain Russ's respect, during them.
Yeah, I think, Russ clearly prefers to be spoken to directly.
Yeah.
Russ there, and look, we as humans have certain things that we ask, preferences in the way that we handle our day-to-day business. And, Frank is very optimistic. Frank is always has a pep in his step and all of that stuff. And it might just be that the way that Frank was trying to, offer up his message to Russ was just not sinking in. And in this case, like, there has been a lot reported on it. One of the things that has really stood out to me in some of my conversations is like, yeah, Ham is constantly talking to Russ, like always on Russ. If he has to be on him, always the first to greet him if he spearheads a run, and that type of extra effort, clearly has worked out here. So I think, if we're divvying up the credit pie here, I would probably go Russ with the majority of it.
Oh, for
Ham.
sure. Yeah. To be clear, that was that. I'm
Oh,
in
no,
agreement
yeah.
on that.
Yeah. I think Russ deserves the majority of it. I think Ham takes the next biggest slice, and then like Rob gets a couple crumbs here and there.
Rob gets like the Costco sample size of the pumpkin pie. You know.
You said you had a quote. You had a quote that you wanted to give to me on the. Oh, can I also give you a stat on Russ? Just you
Sure.
know, so this is from the No Dung Sink pod, and apparently they tallied it up, and the Lakers so far this year are 1-7 when Russ rocks the baby. Is there a way that we can stop him from rocking the baby?
You know, the numbers would argue that that's probably a conversation that they should have.
I actually have a theory on like why that stat might exist the way that it does. Are you
Okay,
ready
so
for
do
it?
I. But go ahead. You go first.
No, you go first. I've talked the vote.
Okay,
most
I
of this
was.
show.
My theory is that it's like, hey, like if things are going okay and you're in a tight game and you get a big basket, like maybe trying to emasculate the opponent is not the move. To sort of wake them up.
Yeah.
Especially when like the guy
that's
like
the Patrick
probably
Beverly thinking.
isn't really that much smaller than you, and and then you like give up a basket on the other end.
That's the thing that like Patrick Beverly is a lot of things, but I think his teammates probably not that thrilled all the time when he talks as much as he does to the other teams. A lot of times, best player, like usually. That's one of those situations like, don't put the Bears sleeping. The Bears chill. We have the bear where we want him.
Yeah.
Don't poke the bear.
The Bears in hibernation. Stop throwing rocks at him.
We're good. Leave the bear
giving
alone.
him cocaine. He's gonna rampage on this whole town and
the Bears. Yeah.
and meanwhile, Pat Bev is just up there like Jackie Moon. He's just like slapping the bear because he thinks it's like, like it's a plaything.
Right.
And then it gets loose in the arena and the Lakers,
That's the thing with Pat is like, because right now, if he throws anything at the bear, he's definitely missing. So he has to go up and like slap the bear. Like he's running up and leveling this bear. My theory on this stat is when Russ rocks the baby, he's usually just made like a really good play, right? It's usually he takes somebody into the post, or almost always it's him taking somebody into the post, spinning around that player, and getting to the basket and scoring. And if it's an N1, even better. He rocks that baby even more fervently. But the problem with that though is once he makes the one good play, he heat checks a lot. He loves him some heat check. And I'm fine with one heat check, by the way. Kobe is right behind me over here.
Yeah.
And Kobe, big fan of the heat check too, right? Like when Kobe, and it was great when Kobe shot.
Kobe usually made a couple jumpers before he went to the heat check, not like a post up layup though.
Well, late Kobe was.
Well, late Kobe was just like 16 heat checks a game. He was constantly checking the temp, just trying to.
It's me as a father. I am constantly checking the temperature in my house, constantly.
Yeah.
But yeah, I enjoy a heat check. I was a shooter myself. Like, there's no way to find out if you're hot without a heat check. My coaches argued otherwise, but that was still like that was how I found out. And so with Russ though, like usually you take the one heat check, and it's a pull up three, it's a pull up mid range jumper or something like that, and you miss it, or it's a pass that maybe you have to really squeeze into a tight hole. And you turn it over, and usually that's the end, right? You move on from trying these heat checks. But Russ does like to keep on. Well, but that one was just a fluke. I'm hot, guys.
He's testing his hypothesis. And so he's like, well, I can't just give up on this experiment about the temperature of my jump shot just after one failure. I need to see if that post up really turned it on.
Yeah.
That's basically how they lost the Indy game. Was
right.
Russ was on fire, and then but he was making like all these layups and stuff. And then he's like, all right, I'm gonna let me get up a couple fadeaways here.
That's a great addition to my theory, because he doesn't usually rock the baby early in the game. He almost always rocks the baby later in the game when positions matter a little bit more. And those heat checks matter just that little extra bit. And I think that might be going into the Lakers being 1-7 is a loud number, right? Like that's
I mean, I'm pretty sure they got that stat from Reddit, so I don't know how accurate that is. Like I'm somewhat I'm throwing up a slight warning flag. I don't know if that was like ESPN.
Do you think the stat is on NBA.com/stats?
I think there's only one. There's really only one way to check it, and that's for us to do it like 8 more times. Next 8 games, see what the record is.
The heat check.
Yeah.
All right, let's wrap.
Again, I love that this segment started with you're like, let's give Russ some credit, and then you're like, all right, let's do 5 minutes making fun of his heat checks.
Look, man, they're hilarious. I'm sorry. I laugh
You should
at funny
tweet just
things.
the part of you giving him credit, like as a clip, and be like, Russ stands, check it out. Check out this pod. We finally give him the credit he deserves. And then,
no, the problem is like you're definitely grabbing the clip of this exchange to talk about Russ. That's what, and you're just going to be left out of it too for some reason.
I cannot confirm or deny that is what I just texted my video staff to get on right now.
So, you said you have another a quote for me.
I do. Before I do, though, just to sort of wrap up the Russ discussion, are you sort of the mind that the Lakers should try to strike while the iron's hot, like get some deals done right now? Or are you still in the mindset of like you want to move him, you want to get these Pat Bev deals, the Nunn deals, like do something sooner rather than later? I guess it's sort of like tying a bow on all this, or like you sort of want to give it some more time.
No, I've had enough of the Patrick Beverley experience.
Well, then I have some good news.
The Kendrick Nunn experience.
Yeah, Woj was just on SportsCenter, and he was talking about how he so this is a quote from him. I think this stretch has bought the Lakers a little bit of time now to really not have to rush into anything. Their strategy remains the same. They're not going to use their first-round picks unless they can get back an all-star level player. So again, sort of like last week, we're raising the expectations and we're kicking the can down the road again, baby. I was not expecting, I saw our friend Sam Quinn had a tweet about this where he's like, the Lakers just keep raising the bar. It's like, well, it's only going to be if we can get like an all-star level player. And it's like, okay, like maybe you could get DeMar DeRozan. Well, a younger all-star. And it's like, well, Zach LaVine, well, we don't really want injury concerns. Like, let us know when Jokic is available for Russ and 2 firsts. It's just like... Could finally let AD play the 4.
So, I mean, I wrote for Silver Screen, right? A column that your dad liked quite a bit. The indications here that the Lakers don't want to invest more into this team. That is not something that they want to do. They want to be absolutely forced into doing it.
Yeah.
Right? Like in the way that people think that Anthony Davis and LeBron forced Rob Pelinka, tied him to a chair, grabbed his thumb, put it on the thumb machine that gives you access to the super top secret trade machine.
It's crazy. They took one of those things from like Guardians of the Galaxy and they ripped out his eyeball and put it up to the IR scanner to do the thing. And then they had it surgically put back in so that he couldn't, prove it wrong.
It's honestly really incredible. It's a feat of modern medicine, frankly.
Yeah.
And so I think that's what they're expecting. Is like the Lakers are going to, because look, if you were looking for proof of what, like, because the bar, like we're talking about the bar of what kind of player the Lakers want back, right? Like that's what Sam Quinn is talking about, and I'm not disagreeing, but the funny bar is that like they keep raising the bar on what the expectations of the current Lakers are. Yeah. Right, where
we're like, well, you got to really kill it on this road trip. They start 2-0. They're like, well, I think that buys them some time to wait to make a deal. They're not desperate anymore.
Right. That's what I mean. Is that like they keep on it, like the caliber of expectations here just keeps on rising. That again makes it more and more. Frankly, it's you just don't really want to invest in a team until they are championship worthy, even without the trade. Right, that's the one that I'm waiting for. That will fully turn me into the Joker. Is that like Woj will hop on SportsCenter and say the Lakers, front office, their brass, they've really enjoyed this play of late.
They don't want to break this team up.
Yeah, they don't want to mess with momentum is another one that I'm waiting for.
Yeah,
but no,
yeah.
I think the one that really will set me off is when we find out that the Lakers are waiting for for this roster to become championship worthy, even without a trade, to then pull off a trade that helps them. Yeah,
But like we
That's
want to
the
see
one,
them
Will.
beat some contenders.
Yeah.
So that we can prove that it's worth adding to this group. Like other than the Bucks, sorry, asterisk on the Bucks game. Chris Middleton had just came back.
Got back.
Can't judge that team till he's had like a couple games back. Like the Lakers have rules on when they can judge other teams too.
Yeah, right. Oh yeah, no, they have to beat All right, so the Lakers play Boston.
Can't
at
judge
home.
the Bucks until they get Pat Bev off the buyout market.
The Lakers play Boston at home, right, on this weekend, isn't it? So they play, next weekend, next week. So on Tuesday, a week from yesterday, the Lakers play Boston at home. So that's the one that, like, look, unless the Lakers beat the Celtics by 35 points.
So far statistically, like the greatest offense ever. Mm-hmm. It's not worth investing.
Not worth investing in them. Damn it, Harris, I was in a good mood.
Yeah, well, I've realized that our best bit is me bringing up news that you haven't seen yet because I didn't put it in the post channel. So
just unbelievable. Did that happen recently? How did I miss that?
Yeah, it was like within like the last 2 hours. There was a clip of Woj on Sports Center.
Okay, it's been one of those days with my son. So
yeah, we should have. Oh, Damian Jones is feeling himself after last night's big game.
Well, I guess both Avery and Miles have just been, oof, man.
Well,
all right.
Speaking of your children,
well, do you want to do NF tweet and then Pat?
Okay, yeah, all right. We could.
So I have an NF tweet here that I'm honestly, like, again, surprised at how angry people have gotten over this tweet. Legitimately surprised. I said, LeBron and AD being able to overcome Russ Schroeder and Pat Bev at the same time to pull away late should be reason enough to get them more help, man. Make the damn trade already. Why are people angry at me for that?
You're surprised that people are upset that you lumped Russ in with that group.
I mean, yeah, I am surprised.
It's the most you thing ever. It's that you put Russ in with any other player and did not declare him the MVP of the team. That's why they're mad. At the very least, sixth man of the year.
I mean,
LeBron's holding him back. Maybe that's who they should trade to get some help for Russ and AD. I don't know.
That's look, based on some of the reactions to this tweet, I think you're making a valid point to some people. But I'm saying, like, I don't know how. People are saying, like, how are you dumping on Russ here? Why are you dumping on Russ? How can you hate on Russ? I think in that game he had 15 assists, which fair, he was good in that game. I completely agree. But I'm saying
he was good in that game. The Lakers just still had to overcome him.
No, him and Schroeder and Patrick Beverley at the same time.
So I think that's the part that wasn't clear enough. I think it was more seen as, my guess off of like the reading of
like
this
in the
is,
lineup. Like, not that they had to overcome those guys at the same time.
You were listing, I think most people took that as you were listing bad players that did not contribute and the Lakers had to overcome.
Yeah, I'm saying, like,
I think if you would have said in a lineup with.
Yeah, I mean, that's
in
fair.
A lineup as small as. I think maybe, the reaction is a little more limited, but that's the 240 character struggle.
Well, I had plenty of room. I had a lot of room there.
I'm amazed that you're amazed that people were mad about that. But I guess that's why we started doing that segment. Is you just like this is the whole thing. People, everybody wants to get mad at me for Anthony making decisions with guests that he brings on the show or sending out tweets or whatever.
The vast majority of the hate I got from that was from you. That was the weirdest.
And people get upset about these things and they're like, Harrison, how could you let him do this? I have no control and he has no sense that he's about to make people upset. It's not a bit. He doesn't get it.
I come from PR.
Yeah.
I have no idea.
No,
on
as
public
you
reaction.
clearly showed Aaron last week, you're a master of PR. You're just going to force Shams to tweet what you want by being mean to him.
Exactly. Yeah.
That's what I agree. That's what the Lakers PR staff.
That's how Woj built his empire. Like, that's how it all worked out in the first place.
Yeah, they got to start negging them. It's like the Laker in their press release. They should be like, fake news. Woj may have reported news about da 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 da.
Exactly.
Get them back. Write their own columns.
All right,
it's time to unleash Darius on Lakers.com. Okay, like.
Is Woj fake news? Well, yes and no. So
it's just a headline on Lakers.com. Should we believe Woj?
Yes and no is the length of the column.
Yeah.
All right. The last thing here on the docket was this headline from TMZ. Lakers guard Patrick Beverly told his kids Santa isn't real, ... explaining he wants the credit for all the gifts under the tree.
Do you think Pat Bev like lectured his kids about like plus minus and like how Santa, like his plus gifts are far higher than, that like Santa is a net negative,
Yeah. Right. Like, so the part of this that I have questions about a lot of it. But like the whole point of Santa is, and by the way, if you have kids in the car, sorry, I'm gonna give you a couple seconds. We're talking about Santa.
Mute the podcast.
Mute it now.
Hit pause.
Oh my God. The background Harrison duck so that we can see your podcast. This is going to be the social.
Pat Bev is like, he's like, I killed Santa Claus. I am Santa now. He's like Kratos and God of War just like took his powers,
Yeah. Santa's hands there are white and Patrick Beverly.
Look, I'm not that great at Photoshop, okay?
What you don't want to do, you don't want to blacken
I just
Santa's
looked up kids crying
there.
with Santa because I didn't want to scroll back through the video and find like your kid crying when you scared her as Santa.
It's an all-timer. That's one of my favorite clips of Avery ever.
It's so good.
So yeah, my main question though in seeing that was like, Pat, the whole point of Santa is to make it so that like kids do what they're supposed to do with gifts at the end of it.
Pat Bev's making a list and he's checking it twice. He's going to find out who knows
better if your kids
are, you're a dad. You know better than Santa if your kids were naughty or nice. Like,
no, I don't. Santa has elves on shelves and stuff like that. Like there's a whole process to this. Like again, and here's the other thing is Santa also, like, there are some gifts that like you write down, your kid will go to school and they'll write down whatever it is that they want from Santa, and then that list makes its way back home.
Okay, I see where you're going with this.
And if you don't get one of the things on that list, that's not on me. Santa didn't get you.
This is where your parenting, I won't say expertise, but your parenting experience comes in. Because me, I'm like, of course, I would want the credit for all those gifts. And I'm sure when you're Pat Bev and you're making millions of dollars a year, the gifts are pretty great. So the kids are not going to be disappointed. But I can see why for you, given
although I
your
could see Patrick Beverly giving his kids coal, right? Like we can...
It's like you didn't make your defensive rotations.
He's giving his kids the bricks that he's throwing up in moneylaundering.com arena.
I see why you are taking this stance, because you, given your overarching life philosophy of, under promise and over deliver, that way if your kids are ever disappointed, you're like, hey, that was Santa. I'm sorry Santa let you down and didn't get you that Nintendo Switch, Avery.
No, look, eventually, like every kid at some point asks for a pony. Like the top like 0.00001% of kids get a freaking pony. And Avery, Miles, one day you're going to listen to this, you're not getting a pony. And it's not going to be my fault. It's going to be Santa's fault. Santa didn't build, Santa doesn't have a pasture for the pony to chill in. Like that's not something that he built for us. That's all him. That's not his fault. That is his fault. It's not my fault. So yeah, like that. When you
so you're not with Pat Bev on this. You're like, this is that probably works if you're a millionaire basketball player.
Yeah,
I think that's actually a smart move.
He might actually get his kids a pony.
I mean, he might. He probably could make that happen.
Yeah.
I'm,
I think he's made
look,
like 50
Anthony,
million in his career.
you seem like you're a great dad and you care about your kids. Pat Bev's kids' gifts are probably going to be better than the gifts your kids are getting. I'm just, being real.
Probably. I would probably say so. Although Avery, the funny thing about gifts and all this stuff is that like you're going to give them to them in boxes and the kids just play with the boxes. Like it doesn't matter what
So
gift.
it's just like having a cat.
Yeah, no, it's like look.
We bought
cats,
Sasha a new bed, and he preferred sleeping in the box that it came in.
Yeah, cats, dogs, toddlers, drunk people, all the same class of preferences. Yeah, that's.
What was your personal pony? Like, what was your like saddest like Christmas moment? Something you didn't get.
Something I didn't get. I think it was like Disneyland like tickets. I like one morning, like a bunch of my friends. I think when we were all heading out for this was forever ago, but a bunch of my friends were talking about how like, all right, we'll see you at Disneyland because like they were all getting ready to make this like collective trip to Disneyland. And I thought my parents, because it was like my soccer teammates, so I thought my parents had heard the kids talking about Disneyland. And I woke up the next morning and I saw an envelope, right? I saw an envelope that was labeled, Fred. It had like the frilly writing on it that it wasn't there the night before. So I thought for sure, this is definitely, I'm going to open this up and there's going to be tickets to Disneyland in there. And no, it was just like, hey, we found this extra letter to you from your Aunt Nancy. It's just so that's my.
It's like $10 in it at least. I hope. Like got
no,
some...
it was just like here's how the family's doing. Your cousin Adrian just passed algebra. Fantastic.
Well, if you want a window into my personal psychology and why I am the way that I am, my story is actually sort of similar.
Okay.
So like I love my dad. I will preface this: best dad in the world. I am extremely lucky. I'm not complaining about him at all. My dad it does have a little bit of like a prank streak. He's very straight laced. So like Santa was, my dad took the Pat Bev strategy of like, yeah, they told us like Santa or whatever, but like he was not really trying to hide that it was him buying the gifts. Like he'd ask us like what we wanted, like we'd see him order it on Amazon. It was not like, like he wanted to make sure that we got sort of what we wanted. And like, as far as gifts, and there were limits obviously, but like, we generally did pretty well. And like one of the years I asked for a Game Boy Advance SP, like really wanted the new Game Boy, had like waited out the advanced generation, like wanted the foldable one. It was like the coolest thing that child Harrison could possibly imagine. And my dad is like, okay, he's like, maybe it'll come, maybe it's coming on Christmas, maybe Santa will get it for you. And like I knew that I saw him order it on Amazon. I saw an Amazon box that he just like left out like a psycho to torture me on his desk. It's like, no, don't open that, you can't open it. Would just like sit on his desk there, whatever. And finally on Christmas morning, that same Amazon box that I'd been begging him, like, can I just get it early? Like, I'll still appreciate it, whatever. Like, it's sitting out under the tree. And I open it up and there's a package of socks inside of it. And I like almost started crying. Like I was, and then my dad, of course, like he gave me the Game Boy later and thought it was hilarious and still makes fun of me to this day about it.
This was 2 Christmases ago?
Yeah, exactly. It was last year. So if you've wondered why I enjoy pranking you with surprise news all the time, I think that may be where it came from. We may have gotten a window into.
Just had an epiphany. Yeah, we're both older brothers, and our brothers are all younger. Like pretty, there's some gap in between you and your brothers, and me and my brothers. My youngest is 13 years younger than me. So I was actually.
I mean, mine is 9, but still about the Yeah.
Yeah, like I used to stay
9
up
years younger, not 9 years old.
I used to write the Santa notes for for them. I had to write it in my right hand. And I had to like take notes on what they did over the course of the year. And I mean, the good news was I got the milk and cookies at the end of the night, and I had to fill the stockings and all of that stuff. So
your parents outsourced Santa to you?
You messed up. We're just learning a lot about ourselves right now.
Yeah.
I was like 12 years old. My mom's like, hey, no, not 12. I was like, no, because Andrew's 7 years younger than me. So I must have been like, in that 6 or 7 year old range. And mom was like, hey,
She's like, look, your mom's tired. She's going to bed. Here, take some candy, take some little toys. Like, you fill up these stockings. You can have one of the cookies. I'm taking the rest.
I grew up quick, man. I grew up quick in these mean Yorba Linda streets.
Yeah, tough childhood for you.
All right, that's going to do it for this episode, this live edition of the I Loathe Basketball, I Loathe Christmas podcast. Is what this became.
I loathe Santa. I think that's what we learned.
I loathe Santa. I was Santa. I therefore loathe myself podcast. I'm Anthony Irwin. That was Harrison Fagan. We'll talk to you guys next week.
This was Pat Bev.
That was... like